Okay, last album, we've got Bjork and her album Post. In the opening montage, you heard It's Oh So Quiet, and now you're going to hear Army of Me.
And if you complain once more, you meet them, I'm your
All right, Matt, stats on Bjork.
Post by Bjork comes in number 49 in the 1990s on Best Ever Albums, number 5 in 1995, number 244 of all time. It's Bjork's third highest rated album, behind 2001's Vespertine and 1997's Homogenic. So, or Homogenic? I don't know, one of those two. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to cover both of those because they're both fairly highly regarded records. This album did make Rolling Stone's list, coming in number 289, and Bjork is ranked number 36 of overall artist. Wow, 36 of overall artist rankings on Best Ever Albums.
Okay, Post came out June 7th, 1995. She was born Bjork Guðmundsdóttir daughter in 1965 in Iceland. We covered her before when she was in the Sugar Cubes on Season 3, Bonus 24, and her debut solo album this season, Season 4, Episode 22, which is called Debut. This is her follow-up to Debut, but it's very much of a piece in some ways to that album per Bjork and her thinking. It's kind of the other side of the same coin. She said that that she always knew that it would be two albums, and that's why she called them Debut and Post, before and after. You can think of Debut as like all the songs she wrote when she was in Iceland, and these are the songs that she wrote after she moved to London and kind of her life there. Thematically, she said that Post is intended to reflect her time in London, and she also said she conceived of Post as kind of a bolder and more extroverted set of songs than her first album. She also described Post as musically promiscuous and spastic. Those are quotes. We've got Nellie Hooper returning as co-producer on this album, as well as Tricky from Massive Attack. He co-produced 2 songs, and Graham Massey from the electronic music group 808 State. And then there's another co-producer as well that I did not write down, and it's Howie B. He does a song as well. What else do I have? She, on the album's influences, she said that, quote, "I'm influenced by everything, by books, by the weather, by the water, by my shoes if they're comfortable or not, everything." The Tricky agreed to co-produce 2 tracks, Enjoy and Headphones, if she sang on 2 of his tracks, which appeared on his 96 album Nearly God. So that's why he did that. The Post tour was her first proper North American tour as a solo artist, and Aphex Twin was her opening act. We talked about Aphex Twin as well on the show. The music video for It's Oh So Quiet became one of the most played clips on MTV, and it was directed by Spike Jonze. It's very much a homage to musicals. I did watch it today. I really enjoyed it. And the music video for Army of Me was removed from MTV's playlist before it aired because it ended depicting Bjork bombing an art museum, and then the Oklahoma City bombing happened at the same time, and so they thought it wasn't appropriate. And yeah, that's about it. I didn't do kind of, because we did the bio, or I did kind of the stats and bio before in the previous album, so I wanted to focus more on the facts on this album. So yeah, Post. What did you guys think of it? You have some background with Bjork, and what did you think of Post? Let's start with John.
Yeah, I'll start by saying this album sounds incredible. It's one of like the best production jobs of any album we've covered so far. I mean, if we were just going simply on like the production, and I think one of the great revelations of this show for me, besides the fact that I don't hate Pavement, as I mentioned in the last segment, is the fact that I've become a little bit of a production junkie, guys, after listening to like almost 1,000 albums right now, and like seeing like 4 decades worth of production styles. Like, I feel like I can now pick up on stuff much better with more literacy than I could before. I'm certainly not an expert, but I do it. And yeah, this sounds amazing. It sounds amazing in what a great production album is something that sounds amazing in every space you put it in. So it sounds amazing in headphones. It sounds amazing in open spaces on a good stereo. It sounds amazing in a car. It even sounds amazing on like shitty like things like a phone or something where you're just listening to it going through. It's just every time I played this album in a variety of different things, it really worked. I love Nellie Hooper's style of production, and she's, excuse me, I should say she. Nellie Hooper is the producer, is all over this. Bjork was the she I was going for right there. But the combination of those two is like a match made in heaven. I think of Nellie Hooper as like the sort of the trip hop, mid-90s electronic guru, right? That kind of was all vibes along the way. This album's characteristically insane, like lyrically, like with Bjork. So there's things where you're just like, I do not even know what is going on, like throwing toasters off of like cliffs and stuff. And you're just like, I'd love to, I don't know if I'd love to or be curious to climb into Bjork's head for a little bit of time, because there's this like it's like every story is like a fantasy world, like come to life. There's like a almost like childlike wonder in all of her songs. But it's funny because she'll also added like adult themes of like love and sex and darkness and stuff. But she just always has like kind of the eyes of a child, like at its core, like with like, and when I say that, it's like a mystery and a wonder to it that comes out in the lyrics. But God knows if I could tell you like truly like what she's going for. So in many ways, Matt, I listen to Bjork albums kind of like you listen to albums, where like the lyrics are there, but they're largely just sounds that occur. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't really feel like I fully like connect with her lyrically, not in a bad way, but it doesn't necessarily add to the production together. But because of that, and because this album sounded so good and the beats were incredible, and just the music choices, and Bjork's in full like, club, mode here. It wasn't that she wasn't on the first album, but she's working with some of the best like electronic music, and there's a little bit of drum and bass on this, and I think thematically I think it's this album or the next one that she was like dating Goldie, who's like kind of the drum and bass guy, and we covered one of his songs, right? Like a couple weeks ago, and so it makes sense that she would be inspired by that. I think she was in London around this time, so a lot of like the London like house music scene was also influencing her. And it sounds here, but it's not like the excesses of house, which is what I really appreciate this. It's taking that and with an authenticity, because she's in this world, right? So it doesn't feel like she's just aping from it or borrowing it, but it's also creating like a more mainstream palatability to it. In that sense, it's a little bit like what Madonna was so good at, of taking like subgenres and making it able to be palatable to like a much larger audience along the way. Like that's kind of what I'd compare this to. But every time I played this album, I enjoyed it. It gave me almost like a meditative state at times, which is a good place to be in. And there's a pulsating nature to this as well. That's just it's such an interesting mix with like, Bjork's like nymph-like child creature, and then these like sort of at times like menacing or darker beats that kind of unfurl in the background. But then she kind of does like a Broadway show just randomly in the middle of it with its oh so quiet, that just explodes out of nowhere, right? And so she kind of keeps you on your toes that way. So this was a comfortable thumbs up for me. I don't know if I like this one better than the early. It's kind of, I don't know if I like Debut or Post better. I almost feel like they're in some ways they're not exactly a paired set, but they're very complementary pieces of work. And that's why I'll be interested to hear some of like the next couple albums Bjork did, because I'm not as familiar with them, to see if she pushes it a little bit or kind of stays in this lane. My guess would be she pushes it, because I just don't think you can be as artistic and sort of off the beaten path as she is and not take risks. So yeah, thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I love this record. This was great.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. The production, as soon as it starts off, first of all, I'm like, oh, Nine Inch Nails. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
There's a Trent Reznor vibe
it's
going on
industrial
with
for
this,
sure.
right? Like this, and I responded to it immediately. And I just, not only is but the production's good in so many different ways too. It's not this album, like the Pavement record we just covered, there's lots of things happening. There's different genres, there's different things happening, but it's, and I think the other thing I picked up is this seems like Radiohead before Radiohead became Radiohead. Like this is still like we're about to cover the Bends, right? Which is like a rock album, right? But there's songs on here like Hyper Ballad or even possibly maybe not even just the stuff that's got the beats, but like kind of the more mellow out stuff with the kind of the effects thrown in here and there. That's a very, very, quintessential part of what Radiohead became, right? With Tom York doing all the experimental electronic stuff. So I think that Radiohead had to be taking some cues from Bjork around this time, because that's what it reminded me of. This album in many ways sounds very modern at the same time too. This doesn't sound like it's like, oh, this is the 90s, right? Sounds like something that could have come out yesterday. But I love the variety on here. I love a song like I think it's I Miss You, that kind of, it's going on this like kind of club vibe all of a sudden. And then towards the end, they start throwing in these horns, like in these offbeat horn parts and stuff that I'm like, whoa. Like I perked right up at it, and just, it surprised me, and I just think she's such a talent, and the fact that she's co-producing or full-blown producing all of these songs is really impressive as well. Writing, producing, singing, and she's just got such an interesting, unique vibe going on that it's just hard not to be entranced by this, and it's I'm kind of kicking myself for not getting into this earlier, because it's not like this is a sound.
That's what CTS is for, Matt. All the shit you didn't cover, we're just gonna cover.
And it's not like this is something that like, years ago it would have taken me a while to get into this. At least I don't feel that way. Like I feel like there's even though for as out there as Bjork can be, a lot of this is still pretty accessible. I think. I don't think it's that. It's not for me. It wasn't a hard listen at all. And the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. It's one of those records that, as you get more into it, and because the first time around you're like, what's happening, right? You're trying to figure it out, put all the pieces together. And the more you become familiar with it, then you start to know, like a song that might start off like Hyper Ballad's a good example. It starts off in a certain way, but you know where it's going to go, and where it goes is awesome. So that you can really appreciate that build up more when you know what's coming. So it's not as much of a surprise, but it's more of an appreciation for where she's able to take the song. And I just love this type of stuff. Like she's going to be another artist, I think, that's going to be very similar for me with like same as like the Talking Heads or PJ Harvey, right? These artists who I knew about but never really got into, and now I'm just like, damn, I think I'm gonna like all the stuff that they do, So it's great. I love the variety. Yeah, the modern thing, or It's Oh So Quiet was really, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But even when she's doing something that's more traditional, like this old school kind of saloon, or not saloon, but kind of like like a Broadway show kind of vibe. But then she screams, like she hits that high note and she's kind of screaming. So she's like, even that takes it to like this place that, making it her own thing, and making it a little bit more modern, which I liked. But it's great. This is fantastic. I'm really excited to listen to her other albums. I'm hoping I'm going to like them just as much, if not more. I hope she doesn't get too out there. Like I'm a little worried about that, I guess, because I feel like this could go this could go into a direction that's like, I think you're missing the mark. But so far, it's two bangers. I think I do like this one better. I didn't go back and listen to debut, but I just my memory being I liked debut, but I think I love this record. So it seems like it's standing out a little bit more. Maybe I need to listen to debut again, but I love the sound behind this. It's just really good. Big thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I really like this album almost from the start listening to it. I agree with you, Matt. It is accessible, but I think I appreciate it a lot more knowing what she's taking, kind of the styles that she's influenced since we've been listening to electronic and like trip hop and the industrial stuff with Nine Inch Nails and some other bands. Like I feel like she took all of it. It's cool how she like takes small elements from each and like makes them her own, or is able to like fit in those styles in such an organic way. I think that's a testament to her talent, that they're, contrary to Pavement this week, this album still feels like Bjork through and through, but she's able to do it all from track to track in different styles. I really like that variety on this, right from the jump with the industrial kind of Army of Me, and then transitioning to like dance or house music, and then to the big band, and later on down to more ballady, implementations and the kind of Afro Cuban or Afro Brazilian type of sound that's incorporated with the horns and I Miss You that you touched on, and even the harp in Cover Me is interesting. So she really just makes it seem effortless, even though I read she has an extensive Wikipedia page on this album, and so it says that she really like worked a long time trying to like get it right. So I think she's technically also very proficient and knows what she wants. But Enjoy also in the middle is kind of like the most abrasive sounding, so she's not afraid to push the boundaries or make music that doesn't necessarily sound like pleasant all the time. So I could see, on the one hand, I can see why somebody might not be into this if this was kind of like your first exposure to her. I think maybe debut has more of like an electro pop kind of feel to it. I think that might be more of a introduction, but I guess because of the foundation that we have, I feel like this was easy to listen to as well. And I enjoyed it, and I just like kind of everything on it, and it's so cohesive in some ways while still being expansive. So it's kind of this weird dichotomy. But yeah, I'm also interested to see where she goes. As a kid, I always thought she was like a weirdo because she had like that swan dress and like the weird videos, but I really appreciate her now in a much more way, in a much bigger way. So thumbs up for me on this one. I'll be interested to listen to Homogenic.
Yeah, I think I was listening to it earlier the week, and Sherry was commenting on it, and I think one of the things that was off-putting for her, she liked the music, but like I think her voice was a little grating for her, and I could see that because she does have a distinct voice. Yeah. It's like a high-pitched squeak kind of. It's like quasi yodel at times,
it's wispy at times, I think.
Yeah, it's really, and so I don't mind it. I'm totally fine. I like it fine, but it's one of those things that I can say, oh yeah, I can see why that would be a little off-putting to some people. So I think my guess is that would be more off-putting than the music, because I think the music is relatively accessible, but that could be my own. like we've heard so many other different things, maybe that's not the dominant feeling.
Are you saying that we now go into the lane where we can do experimental music, Matt, like compared to the average human? I think we're probably
so.
there.
Yeah.
Well, also too, I think you have to have some familiarity or comfort with the genres that she's in. So if you're not gonna like electronica, it's kind of
Yep.
a big ask
But-
to like Bjork's take.
But
on
think
electronica.
about
Right,
us in
true.
season 1 and to
Oh,
listen
yeah.
to Bjork or like the ODB album or that Scott Walker album and now it's kind of like, whereas in the past we're like, whoa, now we're just like, this is interesting. Let's
Yeah,
go to
right.
like reference points for it. So it's taking a lot more to really throw us, you know,
the,
like
the
that.
envelope is pushed further and further as to what we can handle and what's truly like avant-garde. So
That's why I think it would be almost funny to go back and do some of like the Captain Beefheart and stuff, and
We'd
like
have pre-appreciation.
Nico and stuff. Before we were like, oh, let's start where I would be like, well, it sounds very similar to this, and it's like we'd be
Right.
just nonplussed. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think probably the more recent one that was just really tough for me to like get into because it's so out there was that 94 that Oval album 94
94 Discount.
yeah, that was just like it's like because that's like an album that's like, was this even music? That like what is this? You know, like it
that
has
is
to.
the edge now
Yeah, exactly.
at this point.
But still an appreciation for it because there's still elements of this. What was that? Was it clicking? What do they call it? Stripping, whatever that thing was, where they spliced up the thing and they made the sound that
They
whatever
scratched up the discs and stuff.
Yeah, but it's
yeah.
like, but there's elements of that on this Bjork record. I think, like, you know, the clicking. Maybe that was that it. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
No,
but,
glitch was the name of the.
yeah,
I didn't even look that up. I remember
there you go.
that.
Yes, but there's elements of that here. But like, this is structured in a much more traditional way, right? Which is as opposed to the Oval record, which was like, let's just make it all that glitch sound, you know. So I like the little element. It's like ODB, right? I like it little doses, you know.
Yeah.
So
Not like
Record
fuck it,
deals.
we're doing 8 blades, you know.
yeah, exactly.
There's also a sample from When the Levy Breaks on Army of Me. I did not catch that. I could not hear
Oh, I
it.
did.
It's probably
yeah.
the drum, right? It's a
Yeah. But
the John Bonham
I'll
drum.
shout
Yeah.
that out as well.
Just can't hear the ooh yeah. You know, you just have to hear Bjork doing that. That would be funny to hear Bjork sing When the Levee Breaks. So
Right.
That was Kashmir, I think, John.
Well, I did. You're right. I did Kashmir, didn't I? I'm sorry. My bad. So forget I said everything. So I still would like to hear Bjork sing Kashmir. So anyway,
She might
Yeah.
have. Okay.
yeah.
That's it for
And-
this week.